Outlander fans, Derbyites, I'm back once again with Amanda Spears. We are the Outlander team here at Gold Derby. Amanda, welcome to the chat.
Thank you. Let's talk Emmys.
Yeah, let's talk Emmys because the Emmy ballot is out, and that's very exciting because straight away, we go to the ballot and we look and see what are our favorite shows, how they've been submitted, and Outlander is all over the ballot again. But frankly, Amanda, as you know all too well, it's time for the Emmy voters to take notice of Outlander. It deserves more nominations. It definitely deserves more than a few measly crumbs in the creative arts categories. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Caitriona Balfe should get a nomination. She's owed a nomination. And, invite Sam Heughan. Come on. I think audiences would like to see them up there, even if it's just to present.
Yeah. They should be nominated, and if there's not enough room in the category, can you at least invite them? It would give you better ratings, Emmys. Come on.
Yeah, there would be people who watch the show. For example, they never nominated Anna Paquin, but they always invited her and Alexander Skarsgård to come present together. So
there you go. So the thing is, like, when you're looking at the ballot, obviously it's submitted in Best Drama Series. I think it's contending in at least 22 categories. That's pretty exciting. And we know, we'll talk about it later, but we know that it will probably do well in a certain number of creative arts categories. But let's focus on Emmy night, which is drama series, the acting categories, writing and directing. So in drama series, we're going to be honest and real here. It's probably not a front runner to make it into that category because that is so stacked. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to think it could get in, but you and I are too realistic. And also, for those who don't watch our normal chats, we usually are talking about the probability of what's going to win, and getting in that top 7 is going to be difficult because there's probably about 3 or 4 shows ahead of it that.
Yeah. And like, we've seen in the past that the Emmy voters are a little slow on the uptake. So, like, it did take them a little while to cotton on to the Americans and also to cotton on to shows like Friday Night Lights. So it's not like Outlander is completely out of the running because it hasn't made it in yet. But I just think that drama series is probably the most competitive category of all of the Emmys, with shows like The Handmaid's Tale and Game of Thrones coming back. Westworld's still there. This Is Us, Stranger Things. Yeah, it's going to be certainly challenging. So we should probably then focus on the acting categories because it's a possible.
Well, and the one thing with the Americans is, for some reason, the Americans is on FX. For some reason, they have this Starz bias, which is a bunch of BS, as we know. So I mean, Starz would be over the moon if this happened.
Yeah. So Starz has such wonderful programming generally, and yet it only has ever been nominated twice for one of its programs in the limited series category for The White Queen, and what was the other one? I can't remember.
The Pillars of the Earth.
That's right. It wasn't even Dancing on the Edge, which is pretty amazing.
And Jacqueline Bisset was snubbed after her surprising Golden Globe win.
We'll never forget that speech at the Golden Globes. It was awesome.
Yeah. And Chiwetel Ejiofor got a nomination, but that was the True Detective debacle.
Yes, it was not one of the greatest of years. The thing is, though, with Starz, like, it's certainly got the programming to kind of make it in. So Howard's End might make it this year, and Counterpart might get some nominations. Outlander, obviously, is probably one of their best bets. So we hope to see some Starz nominations. This bias that we perceive is just nonsense, and it needs to stop. Emmy voters, come on.
The good news for Caitriona Balfe is there's really no one else on Starz on the ladies' side. Sam Heughan is going to have a little bit of a problem because he's got to get past J.K. Simmons.
That's right. Oscar.
I mean, if I was Starz and I was throwing money at trying to get somebody a nomination, it might be tempting to go with the Oscar nominee, Oscar winner.
But I mean, focusing on Sam Heughan, the problem for Sam, and we love him dearly, right? I just think he's so underrated as an actor, just because he's obviously, you know, he's very good looking, he's very dashing and charming, and the slap the stud syndrome, we talk about it all the time at Golden Derby. There's a slap the stud kind of like bias against good looking leading men. You know, John Hamm suffered with that, although he was nominated year after year. He didn't win until the final year, and that was a close call. And so Sam Heughan, unfortunately, because he is so dashing good looking and all that, and magnetic, he suffers because of this jealousy that we perceive in the industry, that they don't want to give those leading men Oscars and Emmys. What do you think about that?
Well, you know you're good looking when you get snubbed by the Golden Globes. Like that's how good looking he is. Is like the Golden Globes have snubbed him. Like the Emmys have gotten better about awarding studs. Like we saw Alexander Skarsgård, we saw Sterling K. Brown, Donald Glover. We've seen Rami Malek recently. They're getting a little less biased, but he's just got to get in that. And that drama actor and drama actress are stacked.
Bad. So bad. Yeah, but I just, you know, for what it's worth, I thought Sam was incredible in season 3. You know, I recall, it a while ago now, but I recall the print shop episode. He just really held his own, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that for him, that should be his submission.
Yeah.
Is the print shop A. Malcolm episode, because he's so good. He's funny. He's caught off guard. He's trying to figure this all out.
Yeah. So in a perfect world, and he was nominated, that would be the episode that we would recommend. Moving on to Caitriona, I just wrote an article a few days ago with your help. Thank you, Amanda. And it says that the Emmys owe her an IOU. Emmy.
Absolutely.
They do, because really we're still wondering why she wasn't nominated for Faith. And, you know, the episode.
I mean, she had a decent amount of the, what would we call them? Gold Derby, the critics,
the experts.
The experts, yeah. She had a decent amount of the experts behind her, including Tom O'Neill, which is not a joke. He's not just going to put someone in there because he's a fan.
No, he knows his shit. And the thing is, it didn't happen, and that was very disappointing. And then we thought, all right, well, I thought, actually, I'll speak for myself, is she ever going to get a showcase like Faith ever again? You know, probably not. And then we saw her in Uncharted in season 3, and that was like stunning work again. Once again, just really killing it, and definitely deserving of like being in contention in Best Drama Actress.
I keep thinking if she should submit Uncharted or the 3rd episode when Tobias dies, because she really gets to scream and yell and go at him, and then have that really sad scene at the end when she's saying goodbye and you were my first. It was all debts paid.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
She's got 2.
That's credit to Caitriona, that she had a lot of material in season 3. She had to carry a lot of that herself, obviously because our star-crossed lovers were separated by continents and time periods. Yeah, I just think I would love to see her there. There's pretty much a vacant slot in Best Drama Actress if you think that Tatiana Maslany is at risk, given that Orphan Black is kind of history.
Well, I think she's at risk, and I think Viola Davis. I think the show's fallen off.
Yeah, they might name check Viola Davis because she's Viola Davis and she's, you know, an Oscar-winning star. But yeah, that's a possibility too. But unfortunately for Caitriona, there are other people who are waiting in the wings, like Emilia Clarke, a previous nominee in supporting actress, and also, I think more importantly, Mandy Moore from This Is Us was probably the biggest competition.
Well, I think both of them could get in, but personally, and I think it's the same thing with Sam. Is, you know, you've got Kit Harington, who, yes, he is a hunk. Also, could you imagine that category with the 2 of them in it? The Oscars would be heaving with jealousy because, let's face it, that would be one of the best looking lineups. Like Sterling K. Brown, Milo, Kit Harington, Sam Heughan. You could throw in whoever else you want.
My God. I don't know what to say. It's just too much. Too good looking.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my!
All right, let's
And
move
then
on.
remember, Sam's in a movie, so if he gets nominated, and that movie is a blockbuster while voting's going on,
Yeah, just
oh, that has helped many in the past.
correct. Well, let's move on to supporting. We could talk about our leading people all day. We should just let's talk about the elephant in the room, Amanda. We've got to talk about Tobias Menzies.
I commend Outlander and Starz for doing this. I think it's a very honorable thing. They're not playing the rules, but he's only in 3 episodes. Like, he could get nominated. He's so well known. He's been in everything. He's been in Game of Thrones. He's in Catastrophe. We've gone through the list ourselves. And then he's just announced to take over Prince Philip from Matt Smith on The Crown. So he was top of mind. It would be ironic if he's the one who was stuck in for this.
I know.
Oh my God.
I don't understand it. Like you see it on other shows where people move around. Like Samira Wiley is in guest. She was nominated in supporting last year for The Handmaid's Tale, and they've moved her to guest. And Alexis Bledel has moved up to supporting. Like, what were they thinking? Maybe it was part of his contract. Maybe it was his credit. I don't really know. But I'm very disappointed because he would have been the most likely nominee from Outlander. Absolutely.
He would have been the most likely nominee from Starz,
Correct.
frankly, if they would have kept him if they would have put him in guest.
Yeah.
Because even it's just really hard as a cynic to put somebody from Starz in your predictions when the one time it's happened is because True Detective was not in limited series where it belonged and moved to drama series. Like,
yeah. So
oh.
I don't see him getting. I don't look. David Berry, fellow Australian David Berry, Richard Rankin, and Tobias Menzies are submitted in supporting actor. I'm sorry to say, I just don't think any of them will make it in, because we have people. Even though that category is pretty wide open, we've got people now like Anthony Hopkins who's made it back into that category. We didn't even think he was eligible this year. Only recently did his character pop back up in Westworld. And I think more importantly, especially for my own personal like hope, is that Justin Hartley from This Is Us makes it in this year in that category. So yeah.
That's one of those categories where there's 3 times the competition. And the category is really open. So we really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it could, in theory, happen, but he's got to go through Matt Smith. There's a whole list of people. And you've got to remember, Peter Dinklage is back. He's going to be in. David Harbour's going to be back in. And then there's the Westworld men. Yeah. I mean, right as voting opened, Zan McCoran had a big spotlight episode. Yeah. And most people don't even know who he is, but they might have wanted to look him up.
Well, he was like, I remember him from Fargo, and he was brilliant in that. I nominated him for my own personal awards that I do every year because I'm a nerd. And then seeing him in Westworld, he's been like a background character for a little while, and now he has this spotlight. Didn't you say that he'd be the first Native American nominee in that category?
He would be the second Native American nominee overall.
Wow. And
if the first from a continuing series. And if he won, he would make Emmy history. So I mean, I love me some Anthony Hopkins, but if I was HBO, I would be like, look what we could do.
Yeah. I hope that they nominate him. Anyway, we digress. Let's focus on Outlander.
Sorry, we're Emmy nuts. We'll try to stay on tap.
So, best drama supporting actress is Sophie Skelton. Again, I don't see how she can make it in because there are about 15 people from The Handmaid's Tale who could probably be nominated in front of her. But she's not to say that she's not wonderful in Outlander. I was very, very surprised and happy with how she tackled the Brianna character. I think she did it really beautifully.
Yeah, that's a lot to wrestle with for a character.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you've got 3 actresses from Game of Thrones, every actress from The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, that's it. You're done. And then you've got Tandy Newton, like from Westworld.
Yeah. So
not easy at all. And obviously Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things.
She might be in danger herself. So
yes, that's right. let's focus on the guests. We just immediately must talk about our favorite character of the show, which is obviously Murtagh, because hashtag everybody loves Murtagh. And
which will change to Emmys love Murtagh if he gets nominated.
yeah, you could only hope. He does only have a very small role in this season in All Debts Paid, which is the episode he has submitted, but he's on the ballot. It would be very cool to see Murtagh there.
Yes, I would be shocked, but I would absolutely adore that. And they do have some really wild surprises in Guess. Guess is never the one where you just want to go by the Gold Derby odds and pick the top 6.
That's it.
You really need to look through the list and see who's on the ballot. It's like someone like Alfre Woodard. Yeah, I wouldn't expect anybody from Empire to be nominated, but they love Alfre Woodard.
Oh, they love themselves some Alfre.
Definitely. They nominated her for True Blood, and they've never nominated Anna Paquin. So
yeah, Duncan Lacroix is a wonderful actor, and so I'm hoping to see him there. And guest actor and actress is where you see shows sometimes pop up that don't really pop up anywhere else. So you never know. That brings us to Lottie Verbate, who played. Oh my God, I'm just completely blanking. But she's in Eye of the Storm, and that's the episode she submitted. And it would be lovely to see her because she does a really interesting kind of accent, Scottish accent. She's not Scottish, obviously. I think she's Dutch. And so I would love to see her nominated as well. Again, that's a very tough category to break into.
Yeah, Lottie, she's so good. Oh my gosh, let me just get her character's name because this is going to drive me crazy.
I know, like sometimes we...
Like I had it in my head and then I just completely... I'm so sorry, everybody.
Yeah. Anyway.
Gellis. The murderous Gellis.
Yes.
How? Oh my goodness. But if Murtagh got nominated, then we might finally get to interview him.
Yeah.
Considering we are probably his biggest fans.
Correct. We can only hope. So moving quickly on then to directing and writing. Eye of the Storm is the episode submitted there in directing.
Smart submission because it's their biggest episode.
Yeah.
It's got some effects in it, and that's the drama directing trend. But
correct.
It's got to get through 3 Game of Thrones episodes.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
Not easy. And in writing, All Debts Paid and Freedom and Whiskey is the other 2 episodes submitted there. I'm thinking, like, if you have more than 1 episode submitted, you're out. Unless you're Game of Thrones, like you're pretty much out. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I don't see. I would choose All Debts Paid.
Yeah.
But I think as a writing episode is concerned, and that's what makes me think, as much as I love Caitriona doing her Tom Hanks Castaway, it's so narrated. We don't know if that would work. But
it's tough.
There's something about All Debts Paid. I just love that episode.
Yeah.
It was one of my highlights.
Well, let's move on to the creative arts categories, which is the Emmys that air the 2, like they air twice because there's so many categories. I have to do it in 2 nights before Emmy night, so it's quite confusing for non-Emmy fans. But Outlander has done okay. I'm just reading off of what they've been nominated. They've received 3 nominations in total over their last 2 seasons. That's criminal. But the nominations they have received have been really, really well deserved. So in season 1, it received a nomination for Best Music Composition for Bear McCreary. His work on Outlander is so outstanding. Very happy that he was nominated. He didn't win. They've never won, actually, this show.
Well, Game of Thrones never been nominated for music, so that's
Duarte. What a wonderful composer as well. Like, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then for season 2, it was nominated for production design and best costumes. Of course,
as we predicted.
That's probably Outlander's the strongest, the strong suit, and yet didn't win those either. I think The Crown won costumes. So even The Handmaid's Tale lost costumes.
The thing is that when Outlander was last nominated for costumes, it was outstanding period or fantasy costumes for a series. Now it's just outstanding period costumes. So that takes out Game of Thrones. It takes out Westworld. It takes out The Handmaid's Tale. So
it's just The Crown.
It's The Crown. But I've got great news for all of you Outlander fans out there. The Crown made a little Emmy mistake. They submitted Dear Mrs. Kennedy, which is the episode where Jacqueline Kennedy comes to visit, and no production. including the motion picture with Natalie Portman, has ever won costumes.
Shocking.
And there's like 20 of them. So I would not have advised them to submit this episode.
It'll be a real breakthrough. Like, I cannot believe that Jackie, the film 3 years ago, did not win costumes.
Yeah. I was surprised too, but still, it's just one of those things where maybe it's just a coincidence, but it's happened a lot.
Yeah. So let's talk about costumes. I think it's Outlander's best shot. You and I have talked about it for a long time.
All of our critics are mad at us for talking about it as much as
yeah, we talk about it a lot. But I remember that when Freedom and Whiskey aired, what did you say?
This should be their Emmy episode submission for costumes and production design.
And lo and behold, here we are. That is the episode they submitted. Thank you for listening. Our job here is done.
Yes, because if this wins, I'm sorry to all of the people who are watching this. We will never stop talking.
We never, ever shut up.
We're taking full credit for this.
Yes, those wings, those pointy wings on the Emmys, they need to be snapped off. And I'm having one piece, and Amanda's having the other piece. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, it's the smartest decision they made, because with season 2, they went with the most opulent episode, which was smart. And anyone who knows costumes knows that they took these 1950s dresses from like Dior and transferred them into the 18th century. But this time we have the 1960s and that 18th century dress. But it's like a fish out of water because she has to make the dress before she leaves.
Oh, mate. The whole episode is her sewing.
Yes, there's like a whole montage about this dress. And I've got to think, you got to think that the costume designers who are watching this and are going to vote love the fact that this is like not just a dress. It's an actual plot point in the episode.
Yeah. If this can't win an Emmy for Outlander, I'm done. I'm gonna have to go for a very long walk off a very short pier. I'll be done. Okay, so
I'll probably be on air when this happens.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just, the same goes for production design. It's also been submitted there. I probably would have gone with A. Malcolm, but this we get that part of it at the end. Yeah. What do you think?
I think it was smart because you get to see the 60s set, which is very different than what we see in the 18th century. So
yeah, I mean, they could have also submitted something from the Jamaica episodes, which were filmed in South Africa, but I think they did okay. And one's good enough. Just keep it at one. You don't want to dilute.
No, you don't want to dilute. And also, they're going to have to compete against Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. They're going to have to compete against Glow, Howard's End, but their advantage in these categories is the time travel. Yeah, so it makes sense to submit an episode where both time periods are.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, it's been submitted in casting. It's also been submitted in cinematography for the battle join. Good call. I think that was a good call.
Yeah, and they've received, for different cinematographers, but they've received 2 Cinematography Guild nominations. This episode was nominated for that. So we know it's on the cinematographers' radar. So
good.
This might be, they could sneak into this.
They could sneak in there. Hairstyling for Heaven and Earth. Interesting. You never know.
I would have gone with Freedom and Whiskey for that also, because you get the like.
Yeah. And then special visual effects, Eye of the Storm. That makes sense. It's going to be tough to make it in there. There's a lot of very, very good stuff in special visual effects.
Yeah, that's one of those where every now and then you might see a Black Sails or you might see like a oh gosh, what's another one that's
like
in there? The High Tower.
Yeah, things like that. So
Breaking Bad, Big Kaboom got into this category.
Yeah. So we'll see. And then so got nominated, submitted in stunt coordination. And then for the remainder of the categories, which is picture editing, and sound mixing, the battle joined is the episode that they have chosen.
Yeah. And that's, you just, subtlety will not win you a sound category.
No.
It
won't.
won't. It might not win you an acting category either, but it's
Correct.
definitely not going to win you sound. So I think going with the big battle episode
Yeah.
for Eye of the Storm was probably the right decision to make.
So, like, let's wrap up. I think if you're being really honest with yourself, for me, I would say that at this point in time, I'd be quite confident to predict Outlander in costumes, production design, cinematography. So there's three already.
I'm on
And
the same
then
page with you.
you're on the same page. I'm thinking special visual effects is a possibility because Starz has done well there in the past.
Mm-hmm. And there's not as much competition in that category as like just just visual effects.
That's it. And then I think you could see it in one of the sounds. So we're looking at like 4 or 5, perhaps, if we're lucky. And I'm going out on a limb for now and saying that Caitriona Balfe should not be discounted.
Yeah, I completely agree with those.
Yeah. And
yeah, but if I were picking, I would definitely go cinematography, costume, and production design.
Yeah. And I think
cinematography is just based on the Guild nomination.
Yeah. And I just think like if Tobias Menzies was in guest, I would actually be predicting him. He would actually be in my top 6.
Yeah. When he was listed in the guest category, he was in my top 6.
Yes. Because
I wrote a spotlight on him and said he could be in guest. He could get nominated for guest.
Because I remember last year when looking at the ballot for guest actor, it was really it was very thin. Didn't have a lot. So
well, I mean, This Is Us got 3 people in there, so yeah. there was some room.
So anyway, I guess we're just gonna have to move on. I don't see any of the other actors making it in. Sam Heughan in a perfect world would make it because he's really amazing, but he knows, we all know that drama actor is an extremely difficult category to make it into, and it's probably not going to be happening realistically.
Yeah, but he gets to be handsome and is about to be a movie star, so
that's it. I think he's doing just fine, and we're really looking forward to seeing what they have to offer us for season 4. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they've seen Murtaugh on set.
Hold on to your hats.
Oh boy.
Anyway, thank you, Amanda, for joining me today. That was really interesting. We'll see what happens to Outlander fans at the Emmys. If nothing happens and they get 0, then you will be hearing us screaming from the outer corners of the earth.
Yeah. Twitter will hear us.
Yeah. And if they get the few nominations that we think they'll get, then we'll be very, very happy. So let's just keep all of our collective fingers crossed for Outlander at the Emmys, and make sure you stay tuned to Gold Derby, okay? Because this is where it's all happening for Outlander. We are always on it, talking about it, thinking about it, because we love it and we're obsessed.
Mm-hmm.